Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Thera Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gora Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Janichalila Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asashata Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Janichalila Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Asashata Shishimad Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namachaya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Chamakund Radha Kund Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dhama Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan Yagna Ki Jai. Cow Protection Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 14, Text 14. The chapter is called Pregnancy of Deity in the Evening. Saviditvat mojanamno Bhavam Santana Bhavanaha Trayo Dasha Dadattasam Yaste Shilam Anuvrataha Saviditvatmajanamno Bhavam Santana Bhavanaha Trayodasha Dadattasam Yaste Shilam Anuvrataha Saviditvatmajanamno Bhavam Santana Bhavanaha Trayodasha Dadattasam Yashte Shilam Anuvrataha. Saha Daksha Viditva understanding Atma Jnanam of the daughters Naha are Bhavam indication Santana children Bhavanaha well-wisher Trayodasha 13 Adadat handed over Tasam of all of them Yaha those who are Te your Shilam behavior. Anuvrataha, all faithful. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Our well-wishing father, Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you. And since then, we have all been faithful. Please repeat. Our well-wishing father, Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you. Since then, we have all been faithful. Purport. Generally, the daughters were too shy to express their opinions before their father, but the father would accept the daughter's intentions through someone else, such as a grandmother, to whom the grandchildren had free access. King Daksha collected the opinions of his daughters and thus handed over 13 to Kashyapa. Every one of Diti's sisters was a mother of children. Therefore, since she was equally faithful to the same husband, why should she remain without children? Repeat the verse again. Our well-wishing father, Daksha, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you. Since then, we have all been faithful. So, continuing the chapter. There's so much to say about how the chapter came to this point, who Daksha is, Kashyapa Muni, great sage. And as we go back to the previous chapters, Lord Brahma's creation and how he designed the population of this universe, ultimately under the order of Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And consequently, the creation takes place. And when it comes to details, this is when we come to this chapter called Daksha and Kashyapa Muni. Daksha was a very renowned, well-known progenitor, Prajapati, in the universal creation of Brahmaji. So Daksha had a very important role, and he had many sons, many stories. He had incidences with Narada Muni, who turned many of his sons, 10,000 sons, to brahmacharis. And of course, many other incidences, Lord Shiva also, confrontations. But Daksha's intention was under the order of Lord Brahma, obviously, as a Prajapati. And he had a very good intention to populate the whole universe with pious living entities instead of impious living entities. But again, back to the chapters, Lord Brahma's creation, creation of the universe, how everything happened gradually and how everything manifested in the creation. Obviously, back to the original theme of this whole material existence is that living entities who are rebellious to the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they come down, descend to this material dimension, where automatically duality takes place. So we can see that from Lord Brahma's body, the Brahmanas, all the Varnas gradually manifesting. The Brahmanas came from his mouth, and the Asuras, they came from his backside, basically, and his armpits. So they also taking birth, because there is a reason in this creation. There's a underlying cause, which is really to teach the living entities a lesson. So they get a realization that we're not really compatible with the material existence. Although we have the tendency being marginal living entities, so we can exist in both atmosphere, in the material atmosphere and the transcendental atmosphere, which is our true nature, because we belong to Krishna. We is eternal particle, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita also, that the soul is primeval, original. There's no birth and death in its pure original existence. And coming down to the material atmosphere, we are subjected to the laws of Prakriti, the universal creation, ultimately the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Material nature is analyzed in many ways, and if we go back to a few chapters back to Brahma's creation, how everything is evolving and developing in the creation, it's more than just the kalpas or daily calculations of Lord Brahma, but going back to right to the origin, when he actually appeared in the cosmic plan of Lord Krishna, Lord Narayan. As we know that Krishna expands into Lord Balaram, and Balaram further expands, and they further expanding to the Purusha avatars, the manifestation, Lord Vishnu, Karandakshay Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and the super soul within the heart of all living entities, all sentient beings. So we can see that there is a logical progression in the creation. So Daksha, as we come into this chapter here, continues the population of the universe, and his intention was very sincere, being a father of so many sons and daughters, and as in this particular verse, reflecting somewhat the psychology of goodness, especially in Vedic era, Vedic times, not to speak of in the beginning of universal creation, where Lord Brahmaji envisioned, he masterminded, being the engineer of this cosmic manifestation. Here we can see how the planetary systems take place, how the living entities taking shapes and forms, and what kind of bodies they're going to get, the elements of nature, 24 elements, and the interaction with each other, how the living entities can experience this kshetra, this field of action, and with a purpose. So everyone has a purpose coming here. And we can even analyze it further. Every living entity comes down for a reason. We don't know, only God knows, Krishna knows, that the original offense we made, but philosophically we were rebellious to the supremacy of the Lord. We became envious of his beautiful position and pastimes. We come here to experience a so-called reality, a three-dimensional reality, where we can express our free will and remain in denial or illusion, thinking that we can be happy without Krishna. So it's a very basic way to the underlying causes. Now the living entities coming down, descending into this material dimension, and the Prajapatis are already there. So it's already planned. All the great personalities there as instruments in the creation. So Daksha being a very, very well-known personality in the creation process, especially in the beginning stages, well respected, and he consulted his daughters because the Vedic culture, like Vedic psychology, was such that the choice is still there, but was no free mixing with the opposite sex. So the attraction, the desire, but the father had the last word in the decision making. Obviously, father is definitely a responsible, loving father to the daughters and sons. They care for the well-being of their sons and daughters, not to speak of Daksha in such a high caliber of personality. So, but there was some subtleties in families in a mode of goodness, because the girls were very chaste and shy. They were trained from the beginning to be submissive to the principles of Dharma, and understood their roles, and they were very happy in their roles. Of course, with speaking a very evolved civilization, in the beginning of civilization especially, where the intention was good. Brahma's creation, the day was taking place, but again, under the order of the Supreme, he had to facilitate the asuras also. So we can see right away there's duality. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita also, we are confronted with dualities in this material world. Heat and cold, happiness and distress. And we constantly struggling and facing these dualities, even on a daily basis. How we feel, how much energy we have. We're trying to survive in the ocean of physical pressures, basically, laws of nature. So the material body is very much vulnerable and exposed to the forces of nature around us. No one can stop happiness and distress. They just come according to their natural arrangement by the Supreme and according to our karmic destiny. So the asuras taking place. But to take place had to be another settings. And this is when we entering these chapters and verses. I don't want to touch too much the next verses, but it continues that obviously Daksha consulted his daughters through the grandmother also, because girls were very chaste and shy. Often they couldn't express their feelings in front of the father. Father was a authority figure for them, obviously. But they loved their father, of course, because it was a loving, they felt their good intention. Father is very protective, especially to the daughters. And so the grandmother was accessible. Everyone, especially the children, they were taking shelter of the grandparents. And even now, if you visit villages in India, not just in India, but more traditional living, where people live very close to each other, family orientation, they really care for each other. See? I remember when I grew up in Hungary, in Eastern Europe, we had a very strong family orientation there. We all went to our grandparents. I spent some time with my grandparents. She had cows. It was a very sattvic environment in the villages. And so we were very much close to our grandparents. Grandparents were very loving and merciful to us, obviously. Parents were more strict. So the grandparents, the grandmother communicated with the father of the daughters. So in this case, 13 daughters. And the daughters expressed their desire to have Kashyapa Muni, who was a great saintly personality, great rishi, great powerful personality in the process of creation, along with many others, of course. So Kashyapa Muni was powerful. he could accept them. So he agreed to Daksha's request. So Daksha could understand through the grandmother of the children, the daughters, that they're attracted to Kashyapa's saintliness, qualities. They're very noble girls, obviously. A good girl attracted to a good boy. There's a very interesting psychology there. Vedic psychology was very healthy, mode of goodness. And it was, yes, there's a natural attraction there, but also very, very much on the principles of Dharma. So everyone had an understanding what Dharma is and what's the purpose of Dharma. And Daksha was very happy that the girls chosen Kashyapa. So there was one of the daughters, as we read on the chapter, Diti, was just as qualified as the rest, but she had no children. The rest of the girls, being married to Kashyapa, they had sons and daughters, they had children, family. But Diti, Samarada, didn't have children. So she felt very discouraged, feeling the pain of motherly nature comes out. She wanted to have children, and so this is when the chapter is kind of unfolding, that Diti was very anxious, which again setting the scene as we read on, the Asuric race to take place, unfortunately. So there was an inauspicious muhurta, and her desire was very much anxious, out of place. Of course, husband is qualified, the woman is qualified, and then the procreation takes place, becomes blessed, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, progeny, sexual intercourse in the name of Dharma, for the purpose of Dharma, is accepted as a sacred act, basically. Krishna even says, not different from me. So we can see that there is purely motivation here. And obviously, as Srila Prabhupada says in the previous purports, that Diti was not an ordinary woman who just afflicted with sensual desires. She just desired to have children just like the sisters. So she approached Kashyapa, and Kashyapa was very powerful, but Samarada, he compromised himself because he knew that the time was not ready. Of course, a loving husband, such husband, his responsibility to protect the wife, protect even from impure desires. So Kashyapa was ready to please his wife, which is again a perfection of sacred marriage, when a husband and wife has a very fair, respectful responses and interaction with each other. So the Vedic culture was very much emphasizing the motherhood, the feminine aspects, and the muscular, the protective nature of the opposite sex. So we can see that it was a very healthy psychology here. And it's a very subtle interaction. Unlike now, in modern age, in Kali Yuga especially, we live in a very, very fallen age. We can see, very easy to see, that no real resemblance of Vana ashram in a healthy, sattvic, mode of goodness way, basically. It's all just controlled and impelled by Raja and Tamasic propensities. So the living entities, we can see, as Krishna says also in the Bhagavad Gita, that the Vana Samskara, unwanted progeny takes place. The whole planet is overburdened by unwanted population, unqualified living entities taking birth, not helping the world. Therefore, Kali Yuga is manifesting and becomes worse and worse. There's no respect for Sanatana Dharma or religiosity. They deny the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's no yajna performed. So you can see Vana Sanskara is really an unwanted population. Sinful activities taking place. So this whole age of Kali recognized by sinful activities, the activities of ignorance. So it is a very, very difficult situation and times. It requires a very powerful process, powerful, accessible, and effective process. Therefore, the acharyas, not to speak of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great Mahabhagavatas, the great avatars, Shakyaveda avatars, great avatars coming down in our line, empowered personalities, Nitya Siddha personalities. They're coming here to enlighten and help the fallen age, the fallen conditioned souls of this Kali Yuga. So we have a hope by the grace of our teachers, the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Sri Harinama Sankirtan, a very powerful process that even fallen souls who lost their true identity, they in an ignorant state where they cannot recognize that there was a major blunder made originally, great offenses to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we are suffering in this material world. We can see living entities take birth, and in Kali Yuga lifespan is very short. So we're going through all these tribulations for a reason, individually and collectively, to remind us that we are incompatible. We not belonging to this material atmosphere. We have an original home. So Kashyapa Muni was concerned because Diti was very anxious. She wanted to have children, and she even dared to approach her husband in an inauspicious muhurta time period. So this man, as we read on the chapter, the story will manifest what actually happened. But Diti is a very famous personality. We all know she's the mother of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyaksha was the younger brother, and Hiranyakashipu was the elder brother. So you see, Diti was giving birth to these personalities for a reason. And again, you can't just blame Diti for this. She just happened to be the victim of destiny in the creation. It's already planned. Just like we see so many things, even in our within our Kali Yuga, not to speak of the previous yugas, it's all scheduled. The modes of nature, the influence, Satya Yuga, mode of goodness, Sattvic principles, was great tapasya, great rishis, Raja rishis, Maha rishis, great personalities performing great tapasya and meditative processes. They were perfecting Astanga yoga, all different yoga systems. They were capable for austerities. Their lifespan, thousands of years, even up to 100,000 years. Vishwamitra Muni lived up to 60. He meditated for 60,000 years in his seclusion. He was a very powerful rishi himself. So we can see the characteristics of this age is so pure and sattvic that everything promotes the the promotion of the living entities. In Treta Yuga, we can see that some decline, subtly but declining. So the Varnashrams had to manifest gradually. So Lord Ramachandra actually set the criteria, the resemblance of Varna ashram. The Brahmanas were there, the Kshatriyas, because the gunas are becoming more distinct, see, so there's a Raja guna. In previous Satya Yuga is all goodness. So basically the whole planet was populated with rishis and pure beings, and the devas, demigods, demigoddesses used to visit the planet, bless the planet. In Treta Yuga, so Varna ashram manifesting, we can see that the sacrifice is taking place, the Brahmanas coming, they were very well versed in the Vedic hymns, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purusha Shuktam, and all kinds of opulent sacrifices. And then, of course, we're coming down to Dwapara Yuga. It's again declining more and more, but still comparatively very, very sattvic. Opulent deity worship, archa, vigraha. They installed large deities, large temples, grand worship, opulent worship. So it became more into very effective worship. The Raja Rishis were powerful. They had all the resources, the gold, the ghee, the butter, everything there, the cows. When you enter in Kali Yuga, we can see such a decline that we can hardly even recognize mode of goodness. We have to look for mode of goodness. So the whole age is completely submerged in this contaminated consciousness, which is really the true characteristics of this age, mode of ignorance, and somewhat Rajaguna, because expansion and growth, you can see this matrix of Raja, Tama, a bit of Sattvic here and there. Therefore, we need a very powerful process and easily accessible. And we can see as we study the Srimad Bhagavatam leading to a conclusion, Vedanta obviously, because by the time we get to the 9th canto, we have a clear understanding of the position and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we can gradually enter a bit more higher contemplation of pastimes of Krishna, but which requires already awe and reverence before we can even touch these subjects of intimate or confidential pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan and Vrajabhumi. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave a summary of these pastimes in the Krishna book, so we can relate to the stories, Krishna's appearance and disappearance, and the beautiful pastimes. But Srila Prabhupada gives the philosophy, the Siddhanta, to guide us, especially to avoid offenses, because we cannot touch these subjects prematurely. Nevertheless, Krishna establishes himself in the Bhagavad Gita. There's the Param Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Srimad Bhagavatam gradually leads us into a very deep scientific understanding, more than just esoteric, but deeply scientific, analytical study of Krishna's appearances and the purpose of his appearances. Because if you see the Yuga avatars, especially, they come for a particular purpose in a particular context. We can see the essence of those appearances because he comes to, first of all, delight his devotees, protect his devotees, and again establish dharma, because he says in the Bhagavad Gita, when irreligiosity takes place, he'll come time to time. He advances himself. When too much of ignorance and godlessness takes place, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, comes either as a partial or empowered manifestation, can be direct, like Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is directly Krishna himself. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Preme Pradayate Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Ramachandra also, full potent Krishna, directly Krishna himself, full potency, and Lord Narasimhadev. These personalities manifesting the full potency of Krishna himself. The other avatars, although they're not different from Krishna, they're manifesting whatever is necessary for the pastimes, whatever potency necessary, although they're not different from Krishna. So we can see Krishna has a purpose every time he comes, but we can understand clearly from the Bhagavad Gita that his purpose is to enlighten the living entities, re-establish Sanatana Dharma for the benefit of everyone, and also to perform his own pastimes, which is very, very similar to all his appearances and disappearances, because just as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had many reasons to come, apart from the Sankirtan, Yagna, also perform his own confidential pastimes and emotions, expressing his emotions, coming in a golden complexion, Gora Sundar, very, very exalted, transcendental personalities here. Something extraordinary about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No wonder the Mahabhagavata Acharyas in our line, going back to the Goswamis, they're constantly emphasizing the glory of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jiva Goswami, especially, who was a prolific writer, compiled 400,000 slokas on the exalted pastimes of Krishna himself. So these great personalities also assisting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread Krishna consciousness somehow or other, to help the living entities of this age, because there's no way out of this world. Therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says very clearly, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way, except chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So this age, we need this extraordinary concession, that just simply by chanting the holy names, we're not only uplifting our personal realization and awareness about Krishna, but also able to help others. We get spiritual strength. And this is when the desire, the feeling of compassion for our brothers and sisters in the material world who drowned in this ocean of suffering, birth, disease, old age, and death. It's a constant cycle of suffering going on. So a compassionate devotee who understands the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not to speak of his spiritual master, the great personalities presenting this Vaishnava Siddhanta to us, they feel great gratitude and appreciation. They feel eternally indebted to their spiritual master. The gift, the invaluable gift, the priceless gift we have received from Srila Prabhupada and just simply from the assembly of the devotees here. Every day we come together, chant the holy names together. We utter the holy names of Krishna. Very, very significant, because it's not an ordinary thing. The holy name chosen us, giving us special mercy. We can somehow or other have the opportunity to help our own selves and at the same time help Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. When we participate in the Sankirtan mission of Mahaprabhu, this is when the deeper realizations will take place within our heart. When we actually feel these emotions of at least we touch those emotions of the great acharyas, how to help the suffering conditioned souls, how we can touch their lives somehow or other, how can be the instrument for Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. We meant to be representatives of our spiritual master, and not to speak of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his divine teachings. So individually and collectively, we should work on developing our sadhana, develop nice qualities, as Krishna explains in many chapters also, not just in the Bhagavad Gita, but in the Bhagavatam also. And the whole lila in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is about humility, compassion, love, loving exchanges of devotees. So when someone takes Krishna consciousness truly, sincerely, from the heart, and studies under the guidance of devotees, and engages in devotion service, naturally this feeling of compassion for others will come. Because how can we just ignore the suffering around us? We have to feel for them. We have to do something for them. And Srila Prabhupada is urging us through his teachings, through his transcendental purports, that some or other we should assist him, help him in this mission. Beautiful mission here. So we are blessed by Srila Prabhupada and Gauranga Mahaprabhu. We have the opportunity to do service to this great, noble mission of Mahaprabhu. So Kashyapa Muni accepted the 13 daughters of Daksha. They're highly qualified ladies, and Kashyapa Muni was a highly qualified personality. And Diti was approaching, so as we read on the chapter and the verses, the story will be more clear. What was the actual mistake and why this is so, what is the lesson in this chapter and why it had to take place. So it's a very beautiful unfolding story is happening. So, but there's a lot of philosophy behind it, because there's a reason the asuras taking place too, because this is just a place to, this is the place for them. And self-realized living entities who understand their true position, they want to enlighten humanity. They don't want any suffering. The asuras are very different nature here, and they're very much in the bottom of the mode of ignorance. So they are rather harmful to themselves and others also. Therefore, as we read Ramayana or Mahabharata or any of the beautiful stories, Puranic stories, how much struggle between the devas and the asuras, and the qualities of goodness and the qualities of mode of ignorance. There's always a struggle going on because of the material world, the material atmosphere propels the living entities to act in a certain way. As aspiring devotees, advised by our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and his teachings, that we should embrace this sadhana bhakti very carefully and more consciously. We should consciously make an attempt, at least, to make advancement in spiritual life, because this is how we please Srila Prabhupada and the entire Sri Parampara and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We want to become an effective instrument in the preaching mission of Mahaprabhu. At least we should aspire. Somehow we participate in this mission. Whatever service, whatever capacity we have, we offer it to Krishna and to the devotees, remain servants of the devotees, and this is our perfection. And we understand our true position as a servant of the servant of the servant. That will be our perfection. The great Mahabhagavatas will able to deliver us. Our position is to take the humble position, giving all credit to Guru and Gauranga Mahaprabhu, all credit. Then we get some credit. So we give all the credit. And it's a humble state of mind, because without Prabhupada's mercy, without the Vaishnava's mercy, without his representatives, we cannot really make any advancement. See? Yasya prasada, Bhagavat prasada. We sing this every morning, the Shikshakshtaka, constantly reminding us that we have to clear our misconceptions and understand the true Siddhanta here. Chinadapi Sanichena. We sing that every morning. That the perfection of chanting is when we're chanting in the most humble state of mind. This is when actual devotion service will take place gradually, when we have this purity and good intention to please the Vaishnavas in spite of all external challenges or whatever we face in this world. When we have this pure intention, pure motive, then we get the mercy, the glance, the merciful glance of Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. This is when we get the mercy. And there are many devotees within our institution, within our worldwide movement, very sincere, honest, hard-working, good intention devotees. Even if they don't have the high adhikari advancement, but somehow their intention is very sincere. They remain under the protection of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, we should always offer respect to the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya ivacha paritanam pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. So I'd like to conclude this verse here. Is there any comments or questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.